So look, the Suns have advanced. Like, we've been wondering about the Suns, right? Like, are they going to be good? They haven't played together that much. Right? They are in the second round. What did you see from them that teaches you about what they can do going forward?
Well, first, Devin Booker's on another planet. I mean, he's just. I've seen him play great, obviously, throughout his career. He's put up 70 in a game at one point. This guy's been putting up numbers since the day he got in the league. I've never seen him like this. One, he just looks hungry. I mean, he is a guy right now that his eyes are huge every time he gets on the offensive end of the floor. And the reason it's becoming so easy for him is because he's got an opportunity now to catch the basketball with a lot more comfort zone and a lot more freedom, and he gets into a rhythm quicker. What you saw at the Suns in the third quarter is kind of like their potential. Now, 50 points is obviously the extreme of that, but that is what they envisioned when they got Durant. I got a real quick number for you because Hemo gave me this number. I couldn't believe it. There's been 53 instances in the history of the NBA playoffs where a guy averaged 40 in a 40-game span. It's happened 53 times. No one's ever done it while shooting 62%, like Devin Booker just did. So it's never happened in the history of playoffs. That's the level he is at right now, and that's why the Phoenix Suns, which I thought by the end of the first round, because we needed to see them, people were going to start buying into why this team is going to represent the West.
Yeah, 4-game span. The 40 thing got caught up. But, I mean, look, and you'll notice how the shooter, Jay, I know you know this as well. I love what he said after the game. He said that I'm playing with a guy that causes so much gravity, meaning everything is drawn towards Kevin Durant, and how much this opens up the game for him to do a lot of one-on-one, to attack, to stay in attack mode. Also that KD continues to empower him with everything he's talking about, loves watching him play. Said, I don't normally scream when somebody does something like this, but I let out a scream the way he was playing that third quarter. Like, how big of a deal just is that? And as we watch the Suns, and we're still learning about them because they haven't played a ton together, those two guys. But, I mean, again, you guys know this as players. Having a guy like Kevin Durant out there, drawing all that attention, what it can do for a guy like Devin Booker, we're seeing already.
Well, Katie, go ahead.
You like him to beat Denver?
I'm still taking Denver in the series. I do believe that last night was a spiritual thing for Devin Booker. That's what KD called it. And the biggest thing for me to pay attention to in this next round series starting on Saturday is people have talked about the Joker defensively a ton. He will be targeted in pick and rolls. That is what Phoenix is really good at. CP3 can get to his spots. You see Devin Booker snake a lot of ball screens. The same with KD. You will see that action, and how Denver decides to defend that with their depth ultimately will determine whether they can win the game or not.
Who do you like?
I like Phoenix. I think Phoenix offensively is going to present a big challenge for Denver. And I think to Alan's point, what Devin Booker is seeing for the first time is when the ball's on the opposite side of the floor, it's in the hands of a guy that everything he does, there are at least two defenders involved in the action, a third guy shading it. So when it finally comes across the horn to your hands on the opposite side, you've got space on the first closeout defender. The next guy coming is rotating over from the other side of the floor because he was worried about Kevin Durant. Think about the guys he played with on a team that went to the finals. You had guys like Jay Crowder and Cam Johnson, right? Mikal Bridges. They weren't doing that on that side of the floor, and that's why I think Phoenix right now offensively represents too big of a challenge. Now, depth is going to be an issue. But what they can do with their starting five is special.
And that's got to be some feeling. He's looking over there at that defense saying, I'm going to get 45 again tonight. Who do you like?
45.
He says Denver. He says Phoenix. Who you got?
Phoenix. I think I have Phoenix going to the NBA Finals. And just because, again, as we're saying, this is the embryonic stage of Booker and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's played with great players before. Devin Booker's never played with a player like that and what it's doing for his game. I've always felt Devin Booker was one of the most underrated, unheralded scorers in the game. We saw him go to the finals with that team. Can you imagine what he can do? Well, we're starting to see it, what he can do with a guy like Kevin Durant on the floor. And in the playoffs, you can talk about their depth all you want. The deeper you go in the playoffs, the more minutes these guys are getting. And the more times these guys are on the floor, they have the best players on the court.
Well, we're going to have plenty more time to herald Devin Booker and his performance because they advanced. But I want to pour one out a little bit for the Clippers, who had a little bit of an anticlimactic end to their season. Kawhi Leonard going out with the injury. I feel like we've seen this movie before. I mean, going forward with the Clippers, do you feel like with Kawhi that they're set up to do anything one of these years?
One of these years. That's what you keep waiting for is that 1 year you hit. Toronto got it.
Yes.
Toronto had him one and done, but that one was a spectacular one. And that's what you're waiting for with Kawhi is that 1 year where it hits. They keep waiting in L.A.
I said, what's his trade value right now? I mean, and that's same for PG, right? They've both been injured. So both these guys have 1 year left on their deals. Then on top of that, they have an option year. Their option So I think at max you have 2 more years with these individual players. The question is, will Russell Westbrook decide to take less money? Because I think they can only afford to pay him $6 million, the mid-level exemption. So I think Russ is at the stage of his career. If Russ is able to stay there and they are able to load manage whatever way Ty Lue needs to go about it, you would think, what are you going to blow it up? You're going to blow it up and get what in exchange?
They got a new arena coming. They can't blow it up.
It's right. Let's go to 2024.
But it's amazing how the Clippers are that team. They are the most unreliable team possible because you don't know what you're getting out of them and what we're going to talk about with a team like this. Imagine being a fan of a team where you have a regular season of 82 games,
but it's
and
just
you're
because
like,
of injuries.
Not going to see my star most of the season, hoping that he's healthy in the postseason.
Would you take it if you won a championship? Toronto took it to win a championship.
That's
if that leads to winning a championship, is it worth it? Yeah,
I don't think they have a choice. I mean, it's literally you sit there like this,
stuck
season after season, as long as you have it. And it gets to the point where, I hate to say this because I love watching Kawhi so much. You get to the point where you don't give him the benefit of the doubt anymore that you're ever going to see it. Right. I think we're past that point. We expect him now to miss large chunks of time, which is going to hinder their regular season. And then you say, okay, we'll take that, man. We'll be a 7 seed. Can you give us 2 months of playing every other night so that we have a chance? And
yes.
You saw that.
Give him 2 weeks.
Ron Lue, it was like the first time he got asked about after his first question was something about that. He immediately just like, what do you want to do?
Yep.
Let me. And he listed like 3 teams. Take those 2 guys off the team. Take those 2 guys. Take Steph and Clay off the Warriors. What does that look like? What do you want me to do?
Look at this.
I feel it.
Since 2019, 347 Clippers games, only 142 of those with both those guys on the court. That counts the playoffs.
See, the problem with
I think that picture was taken last night because of holding their jersey.
A lot of basketball to talk about. That's right. With our
basketball
including our thriller of the night. Trae Young and the Hawks visiting the Celtics in Game 5, looking to keep their season alive. That's Trae Young. That's Jaylen Brown.
Wow.
Let's pick this up in the 4th quarter. 6:14 to go. Celtics up 10. Brown hits the 3 from the wing. That puts the Celtics up 13.
Guys wear masks, they wear shades, and no one, when they cross the half-court line, they just let them shoot.
Here come the Hawks.
They just let them shoot.
A 3 from Trae Young.
If Legs was still playing, Legs would be fine.
I don't even know what's going on. Herm Edwards has hijacked the highlight. Where even are we?
Play defense.
Let them know, coach.
That's a steal by Trae Young.
Get him, Bucket.
Just shoot.
Hawks use a 12-0 run to tie the game at 1:11. 30 seconds to play now. Hawks with a 1-point lead. There's a jump ball at center court. Robert Williams tips it to Jason Tatum. Lobs it back to Williams for the slam. Celtics up by 1 with 25 seconds left. Good to go, right, Alan?
Just get a stop. Don't foul. Whatever you do, don't foul because he likes to draw fouls and don't.
And Marcus Smart fouls him. Smart doesn't like the call, but it doesn't matter. Young's going to go to the free throw line. He's going to make both free throws. The Celtics then would make a couple free throws, put the Hawks back down 1. So Quinn Snyder, who are you going to give the ball to this time? I think I know.
Trae now brings it across against Jaylen Brown. Trae in the middle, fires the 3. Bang! Trae Young just hit it with 1.8 to go. Trae Young has just stunned this crowd, folks. Trae Young has just stunned Boston.
I mean, what are you going to do? The guy was just out of his mind.
Well, you could guard him at half court.
Great call. Half a second left. We'll get to that. Last chance for the Celtics. Smart gets it to Tatum, but he doesn't get the shot off in time. Young had 38 points, 13 assists. Hawks force Game 6. And the Hawks were down by 13 points with 6 minutes left and won the game. That's hard to do. Before Tuesday, teams facing elimination were 0-183 in the last 25 postseasons when trailing by that many points in the final 6 minutes of regulation.
Wow.
I think Trae Young, we can give him credit for ending that streak pretty much by himself. Legs, what did you see from Trae down the stretch in that game?
Let's just talk about the last play and what all goes into that and how it happens, because there's a lot of criticism on the part of the Celtics today, but I'm going to show you kind of why that would be. So it starts off, this is smart. You're just going to get him the ball much space as possible. It starts right here. Just watch. Quinn Snyder immediately takes his hands and puts them to the side, right? So that indicates to everybody on the floor what this is about to be. It's going to be a 1-4 flat. And guess what? Jaylen Brown's looking right at that. So right now, Jaylen Brown knows that he's going to be put on an island. He knows there's not a screen coming. It's a 1-4, Trae Young at the top of the key. So Jaylen Brown should know now he doesn't have to worry about a screener because he's got Quinn Snyder right in front of him indicating that. So that's the first thing. Now, as Trae starts to come, you're going to see Jaylen Brown. Just everything about his body weight is back. He just backpedals. Trae Young obviously watching it. The other thing Trae Young is watching, he's looking right here. Who's going to come, if anybody? And he's not going to do anything in terms of pulling unless he sees somebody start to come at him. And that's exactly what happens right here. Field of vision. Here comes Marcus Smart, the first defender he sees. And as soon as that happens, Trae Young plants his right foot. And that means he's going to this step back. And you can see Jaylen Brown's body weight is still back. And he gets a decent contest on this. But Trae Young knows that now he has enough separation to rise up and knock this shot down. So everything was playing into Trae Young's hand and what he wanted to do. Now, look, he made a ridiculous shot from a ridiculous distance, but it's a very makeable shot for Trae Young, not feeling any sort of pressure. The reason I have a problem with what Boston did on that, there were 2 non-shooters on the court for Atlanta. So run someone at Trae Young and dare that guy to make that shot to win the game rather than give the best player on the court, who is hot at the time, to take that shot unimpeded.
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess my question is, Alan, like that's a great breakdown, and we learn a lot from it, but how are they even in position to win? The Celtics were up, and I stress again, I've mentioned this, 13 points with 6 minutes to go. They should have put this in their pockets, right?
Yeah, it's an amazing stat we were talking about in the green room before that was said on last night's broadcast. It's the first time in Boston Celtics playoff history, which goes back forever, that they have had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter at home and lost. Just think about that for a minute.
They played a couple of playoff games.
They might have had a couple. They have a little bit of a history. So just think about that part of it, that they tend to, at home, close out games in series when they have that kind of a lead, which they did. And you mentioned it was 13 at one point. Jaylen Brown used the word boneheaded when it came to some things that they did late in that game. Fouls that were called that they didn't need to take. Turnovers, some really just bad, lazy kind of passing. The technical foul from Jason Tatum, which was completely unnecessary. It might have been a soft call, but when you bat the ball towards the official, you're going to get a tech. Yeah. That was not necessary as well. And it makes you go back and say to yourself, on the very same day that Ime Udoka, their former coach, took a job in Houston, their new coach who took the interim tag off of him this year, Joe Mazzulla, did not do a very good job closing out this game.
Yeah, you know who was enjoying watching it was Joel Embiid. He and the Sixers have already advanced to the next round. They will play the winner of this series. So at the end of the game, he tweets, "This is some good hoops, hashtag Ice Trae." As a result of that game and Trae Young extending the series, Sixers are going to get another couple of days rest before the next round. And that's big for Embiid, who's trying to rest that knee. Is this a big blown opportunity for the Celtics?
I think so. I think it opens up so many things. First of all, yes, Embiid gets to rest. Let's start there. You don't want that against Sixers. You want him to have had to play sooner rather than later. There's that. But legs, I mean, you know this better than anybody. Every game you play that is unnecessary opens up what? First of all, the Hawks in their last 3 games, the Celtics defense has been a myth. The Hawks are averaging 123 points a game in the last 3 games of this series. Maybe they figure something out. So you open up the opportunity to now have to play a Game 7 if they play well at home and continue to drop buckets on your defense. But I also worry about injuries.
Oh, yeah?
Unnecessary games. What if a guy gets hurt and now you're going to the second round and you have an injury that you could have avoided if you just finished this game?
So true with this team in particular. Marcus Smart spends a lot of time on the floor, diving after loose balls, taking charges. Robert Williams is always iffy. When is he going to land after a block attempt? Is he going to grab his knee again? So you open it up to that, but you also open up just doubts. Like in your mind, like this is a 500 team without their second best player, and you are a team that thinks you're going to win a championship, and you can't close that game out with a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter. So the doubts start to rise.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.